The latest controversy about Prince Andrew underscores not merely a lapse in judgment, but a recurrent theme of reckless entanglements with unsavoury figures, and the revelation that his business venture received funds from Chinese donors linked to an alleged spy, known only so far as H6, places both his credibility as well as national security at risk. And despite assurances that nothing of a sensitive nature was discussed, the optics of the Duke's association with a suspected agent of a foreign party, of the Chinese Communist Party, the CCP, are utterly damning. And, the fact that he had this person in Buckingham Palace is extraordinary. H6's access to Buckingham Palace, St James's Palace, Windsor Castle, through Andrew's invitations highlights a perilous breach. This isn't really about H6. This is about the access that was provided by Prince Andrew. This is about the indiscretions of a person who is so close to the throne. And court documents reveal the Duke's desperation for financial stability, the mounting pressures that made him vulnerable to misuse of influence. And the case, adjudicated by the Special Immigration Appeals Commission, detailed how H6 was positioned to cultivate relationships with prominent UK figures on behalf of Beijing's United Front Work Department, tasked with intelligence and influence operations. But it could have been anyone. It could have been any country. Andrew's pitch at the Palace Initiative, launched ostensibly to foster innovation, now appears entirely as a vehicle for questionable dealings. H6's involvement in a Chinese operation of the initiative is under scrutiny, as profits and relationships tied to the scheme could have facilitated covert influence and access to the monarch. The discovery of correspondence granting H6 authority to act on Andrew's behalf deepens concerns about the Duke's lack of oversight, lack of care, arrogance, and lack of discretion, his susceptibility to manipulation. This isn't about H6, this is about Andrew, and it's a pattern of poor judgment, again and again and again. It's not an isolated misstep. Andrew's friendship with Jeffrey Epstein, the subsequent scandals already eroding public trust and resulting in his removal from royal duties, the parallels between these associations suggest an alarming pattern of prioritising personal gain over prudence, jeopardising both the monarchy's reputation and our national interest. And the king, reportedly briefed on the situation, is said to be aware of the gravity of these allegations, and security experts, including MI5's Director General, have emphasised that elite capture tactics by foreign states target influential figures to subtly shape political landscapes, and nobody had the depth of access that Prince Andrew had, and nobody seems to have been so exploited as Prince Andrew. Prince Andrew's relationships, forged under the guise of diplomacy or enterprise, have provided fertile ground for this sort of scheme. His repeated lapses in judgment demand scrutiny, not merely for his personal conduct, but for the structural failures that allowed these associations to flourish unchecked. In the end, maybe it's about closing the door after the horse has bolted, because Prince Andrew cannot be allowed to have this sort of influence ever again. And I'm sure he won't. His insistence that interactions were limited to official channels rings hollow against the backdrop of dubious business dealings, strained finances, and a cavalier approach to his role. But where Andrew stepped today, who will step tomorrow? Because this is a lapse in security that is about position and accessibility rather than the stupidity of one individual. But that perfect storm of those three aspects can be recreated. It doesn't have to be Andrew. While the palace distances itself, the shadow cast by Andrew's indiscretions lingers, leaving a stain not easily expunged from Britain's national security narrative.